Hello and welcome back to Hollowponds Solo Sagas, and as you can tell from my t-shirt, we're playing Star Trek. So, Captain's Log, Star Trek, this is our fourth episode. Act 3 of our episode, The Shifting Stars. This act I've got written down is called Move the Flock On. So, we have Captain Matane of the USS Rumta has been sent off into space, out of fringes, deep parts. We're here to repair subspace repeaters to allow the communications network to work properly. Because that's what we are, we're an engineering ship. It's a Hoover class. USS Rumta is, which means space in Dutch, is a Hoover class ship. Our captain, Captain Matane, River Matane, he is, I got interrupted, I can't remember where I was. I'll just start where I think I was. Do excuse me, viewers. Captain Matane, who, that's immediately in Dutch, he is in charge of the ship. They're gone out. They then were asked to find out what happened to the USS Slipper. The USS Slipper, captained by Captain Lawson, which had gone missing whilst attempting to make first contact with a new type of people on New Prime called the La Deluga, who are a very law-based debating race. They had basically gone missing. While coming there, we encountered some weird space. We investigated the weird space. It was this swarm of polar energy, this sort of flock or swarm, which now at the end of Act 2 has encapsulated the Rumta, and we're all being buffeted about. We will, I think, actually, supplementary log. The USS Rumta, deep space, outside the location of where New Prime should be, 5000.4 Captain's Log. This is Captain Matane, but you know that because he's in my log. We are in deep space. We have been assaulted by a strange space entity which seems to be made of polaron energy. It has encapsulated us. As far as we can tell, it seems to be some form of swarm. The outside is hard to scan outside of this swarm entity which has encapsulated us. We have a part of it on board in the science lab that could have attracted it to us. We're trying to work out how to get it away from us. Potentially a science officer, I can't remember if she said this, but I think it was in my head, and so I'm going to credit it to Science Officer Relek. Science Officer Relek has suggested that possibly if one of these has is big enough to cover up a planet, this could be why we can't find New Prime. We continue our investigations and continue attempting to get this off of the ship. Now this is where last week I've just remembered, as I said, that we could say Act 3 time has spent. So if we say that time has progressed, then we can give them some roles to try and work out what's been going on, and then we can meet them at the ready room, and they can basically then do exposition to the audience, to people watching at home from TV, about what's happened up until this point. So if we turn around and we say there are a few things that we want them to be able to tell the audience, if they can tell the audience definitely it's a flock, we know it's polaron energy. Now what I was thinking is, and I left a note on top of the book, which I obviously must have thought during the week, a yellow post-it note, Star Trek, it's feeding off of us, overfeed it. So possibly we could say it's feeding off of us. Now if it's feeding off of us, we could overfeed it to try and dissipate it and get it to get rid of us. Or what I was thinking as I just sat here was that we can create something emitting polaron energy and we can send it off. So we have do we have special engines? We have improved warp engines. Maybe the improved warp engines are emitting a range of energy which is slightly on the edges of polaron, which has attracted us to feed off of. So we can do various things. Let's see. First we need to have either Science Officer Relic or Captain Matane, because Captain Matane is also an engineer and a scientist, very much in the Janeway, because she was always doing engineering stuff, especially in Series 1. They are going to come up with a plan to run some scans. So they've been running scans. We'll have some time has gone. We're all in the ready room. We will, via exposition, tell the audience that the time has spent and what we have discovered whilst in between episodes. So we need to do a science roll. Let's let both Science Officer Lieutenant Relic, they can attempt to do some science rolls and see if they can get any information, and then we can do Captain Matane can attempt to do the same thing. We've got various different values and talents that we can attempt to utilise. Particularly on the Rumta has some talents that we can utilise, and we've got some focuses that we can attempt to use. Electric plasma power systems is what Matane is good at. We could use that as a focus. I think we spend that focus, we cross it out, and then we can get other focuses. I think that's how. Let me check it. I'm still unsure of how talents and focuses get used, which is why I haven't used them in the last couple of episodes, because I'm not 100% sure how they get used. Now, I don't want to break again and lose my train of thought, but I think I'm going to have to. Break flow. I hate when DMs have to break flow, but I want to know how this works, and so I'm going to have to. And because I've got no other way to, I suppose I could ask GPT to summarise it for me, but let me have a read. Hold on, I will be back imminently. Right, focuses. If the character has a focus that applies to the current task and they roll a number equal to or less than their discipline rank, they immediately create an advantage or roll on the advantage table. Fine. Okay. So I'm not often going to use focuses because it's a level of cognitive overload which I won't keep track of. So that's what a focus is. So first off, we are going to have, let's do talents. Hold on. All right. I think I get it. So focuses on a person or talents on a ship. If you have one of those and you roll a number below the system, so it's the discipline or the skill that is assigned to that thing, then you can get an advantage, a story advantage. It's mechanical. The values are not mechanical. The values are story tools. We should be attempting to either pull those values out and challenge a value within our story, which we haven't been doing. And so it doesn't give us a mechanical advantage, but it gives us a story interest advantage. So the values should cause problems as well as help solve problems within the values part. Okay, I will try and incorporate that. I mean, you learn as you go. I will try and incorporate that stuff in, and when we roll low on a skill, we will see if we have a focus or a talent, depending on what's rolling to do. So for instance, we will do that now. Science Officer, sorry about all those gaps, that took ages. Science Officer Relic, and really I think it's because I'm thinking too mechanical and not narratively enough, and this is a narrative-based game. This is like Daggerheart. It's more narrative than it is mechanical. So, Science Officer Relic, Lieutenant Relic, they are going to attempt to have run some scans. So we have an advanced sensor suite. They are going to be attempting to run some scans. So we have sensors of 7 and we have science of 3, that gives us a 10. So if either of these rolls below, what did we say? Sensors of 7, we've got a sensor suite, below 7 we can get advantage. So we get a 20, which means there is a threat created, and we get a 19. So this is a failure and we get a threat. Now we have saved momentum, so we can burn the saved momentum to get rid of that threat, but we haven't created a threat yet. So it could be interesting. We're not going to use the momentum to burn the threat because we have created a threat. Science Officer, so this is why they're a bit panicked. Science Officer Relic, so something has happened which is why they're panicked. Now a threat has been triggered off because we rolled the 20. We failed the scan. Science Officer Relic did not get the information Science Officer Relic was hoping to get. We need to roll threat. So I will find the threat, and we're looking up things again, I do apologise. And we are going to create a threat using the threat table and find out how we can write that threat into the story. And I'll keep talking to fill in air whilst I look for this threat table and I don't seem to be able to find it. It's probably because I'm not looking in the matrices. So I'll go back to look. It's funny, the old matrix bit. I haven't found any yet. Well, I'd found some, but none of them seem to be that interesting. Well, they are, but they're very specific. What I want is some matrices or tables that just gives me some verbs, because I like bouncing off of verbs. I like the way that works. Advantages, complications, themes, instance. I want threat. Momentum, threat spend, 275. All right. Let's create some threat. Momentum spend. Generating random threat spend. Threat spend theme. 17. Subspace. That's cool. Subspace table. 8. Messages cannot penetrate subspace. All right, that's cool. Okay. Well, that doesn't really help us very much, does it, threat-wise? It's kind of... So what would that be? That would be... How can that threat... So how can we spend threat? Hold on. All right. So we are going to use this threat to increase difficulty. We are going to have... Now, people don't die in Star Trek, so we need to find our way out. But we're going to start... I did this something else. 0... minus 1, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. Every time we have threat increasing, or every time we do a failure, this is going to go up, and it's going to be harder because we are being bombarded by polaron energy, and we are finding it very difficult to, so that means that the difficulty goes up, basically. And our first difficulty is we increase difficulty, so our next roll we need to have 2 successes to roll underneath. So in the process of running scans, Science Officer Relic has angered the flock, which is vengeful, and it's began to try and eat us more, and the process of eating us more is causing there to be increased polaron energy is bombarding the ship, and people are starting to feel ill. So we're getting the first beginnings of people getting headaches and looking a bit sweaty, which is everyone sitting at the table, and this is part of the story that is told sitting around the captain's table. And now we will have Methane is going to attempt to do, so what has Methane got? Methane has got reason of 11 and engineering of 5. That's a 16. So we are going to attempt to, he's got scanner operation, he is going to attempt to get this information and try and find out what is going on. We've got a 5 and a 6. We've got a reason of 11 and an engineering of a 5. If we've got engineering of a 5, that means that we have got a success there, and we've got a scanner operation, so we get an advantage. Let's now do a let's use an advantage. So our advantage is going to be, we can just do it as a story advantage. So the story advantage is, instead of rolling a story advantage, let's give him a story advantage. He spends some time. Now this is, don't forget you can talk it through, don't stop getting your hands dirty. So he's got, like we're using, so he's continuing. So Relic, oh, he's going to get, so he is slightly, Relic and him have an abrasive type relationship because Relic was trying to do it. Relic, they mucked it up, and then Methane steps in, rolls a success. I think both under his momentum, so we can't expend the momentum anyway, but we're going to use momentum. We're going to burn momentum to get rid of that negative that we got. So we're still, Captain Methane repolarizes the shields, defending the Rumta from the polaron energy from the entity which is bombarding it, and is able to scan deep within the entity. We'll move the story forward. Deep within the, we're going to call this one a success. He's going to scan deep within the entity for Act 1, and finds out that it's devouring polaron energy, which is coming from our advanced sensor suite. No, our improved warp engines. Our improved warp engines are causing a emitting of energy which is it's interested in and it's devouring. So so we're going to call that one a success. So scene 1, act 1, act 3, move the flock on, success. Right, move the flock on. We're going to hone back onto that. So we're sitting around the table. We've found out that, so everyone's looking a bit stressed because of the headaches. Relik explains that they are very sorry for what happened. Matain's going to go, look, I've got it all sorted. You don't have to worry about it. So this is him proud. So he talks about his pride. No, that doesn't really fit. Well, he's going to do it, but we don't need to. We're not confronting that value, but that he's going to exhibit the value. Proud to be a marshal. Even though I grew up on an artist colony, I still am able to understand how these things work, and I'm glad that I can keep my hand in. Don't worry about it, Relik. Everyone needs to learn. Hopefully you've learned something from it. So basically he's being a bit mansplaining and irritating, because that comes out with getting your hands dirty. It's not always good to follow process, but he has forgotten that you can talk it through. So instead of talking it through with Relik, he just stepped in and took over, which isn't really good for a captain. So we've created a bit of conflict there with Relik, but we've resolved that act, this first scene in this act 3. Now the next scene, we need them to try so they're going to try a variety of different methods. So we did burn momentum, but we gained momentum. So we burnt it, and then we can't have two, can we? So I'm going to say we burnt that momentum. We have no momentum at the moment, but we negated the threat. We negated the threat with our momentum. So we've now got the threat handled. We've got the shields are keeping us protected for now. We now need to work out how to move the flock on. So we can work out that we can need to overfeed it, or we can try and send something out to basically like a lure, to lure it away from us. Now if we can do that and lure it away from us, then we might be able to lure the whole, then we can do a scan and find out if there are others, and that's where we can then find out where the planet is and resolve it, and then we can go down and meet Captain Lawson, and then we can close off the episode. So next we need to work out whether it's overfeed it or we lure it away. So let's give our pilot, who was McLeod, wasn't it? Lieutenant McLeod was our con. McLeod is going to talk about, let's have McLeod talk about his ancestors were sheep farmers, and there was the sheepdog, and you could then try and hound them away, but we can then talk about, because if it's out there, there's also salmon farming or fishing, like fly fishing. Not that we were watching the Crown War. And we can say about you need to lure it away. So maybe we'll talk about lures. So McLeod is going to attempt to do that. So this is the ship, because it's crew. We do have, so we've got traits of subspace scanners. Federation, that doesn't help us. Advanced sensor suite, no. Warp core, no. Maybe the warp core, slim sensor silhouette. Slim sensor silhouette, because we can drop our slim sensor silhouette and it will not know we're here. It might move on, and then if we send the lure out, we can pilot a lure out and drag it away. If we reduce our sensor silhouette, then we're not here to attract it, because it's the same thing if you want to get rid of ants or something like that. This is Australia, you get ants. If you want to put down something to lure them away or as a bait, you need to make sure there's nothing else around that they're also going to eat, so they just go for the bait. And it's the same thing as you're putting down ground bait or various other things. So we will have, so what would that be? We could then go, it's not really structure, it's not comms. It could be, we could say engines, which is an 8. So we're going to talk about engines because it's bringing the sensor silhouette down. So we're going to go engines and con or engineering. Engineering is 4. Engines and engineering gives us a 12. To then try and bring the engine silhouette down and then give us a chance to then get a lure out and see if that works. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and bring the sensor silhouette of the engines down, which is engineering and engines, giving us 12, and then try and do that. So we've got a 4 for engineering and an 8 for engines. We can pick the 8 as being our big number. So we've got both are under. We've got momentum and we've got an advantage. So we've got a 4 and a 3, which gives us momentum and an advantage. So we'll take our momentum, thank you very much. So we've got gained new momentum, and our advantage is going to be, so we will then have McLeod. Did we say it was McLeod? McLeod was Con. Did we say who worked in engineering? Do we have a Scotty? I don't think we have a Scotty. Let's have, who shall we have? So engineering, who's going to be our head of engineering? It's going to be, there was someone I worked with at the forest recycling. She'd never watched this in a million years. Her name was Sue. She always wore dungarees. She worked for the Waltham Forest Recycle. What was it called? I can't remember what the centre was called. I used to work at an environmental centre called the Hornbeam Environmental Centre in Walthamstow in London. And there was a recycling project that was linked to it next door. And there was a woman who worked there called Sue. And Sue wore dungarees all the time and was very practical and hands-on. She helped me build a racing bike that got found. This was ages ago. I can't remember how old I was, early 20s. A racing bike that was found by the side of the road. We rebuilt it. It's going to be, she's just Sue. She's very hands-on, very direct. She cycled with her partner. What was her partner's name? I can't remember what her name was. Across Europe one summer. This is Sue. She's always talking about cycling across Europe. So she was. Sue, we call down to Sue. So Sue and McLeod, Lieutenant McLeod, are both, so Chief Engineer Sue and Pilot McLeod, Lieutenant McLeod, they are going to attempt to bring the sensor silhouette, slim down the sensor silhouette to make us have a lowest profile as possible, succeeding in doing that. And then because that works, they then say, okay, now if we can get one of the shuttles, we can equip it, emitting its engines really pushing out, we're going to attempt to remote pilot it, and that's going to be our advantage. We're going to burn the advantage in creating a story advantage. So we've staved down momentum. The story advantage is putting that shuttle together, so it's pushing out its really strong polar ion energy, and then we're going to try sending it out. And so they do that. That is scene 2. So scene 3 is going to be remote piloting. Scene 3 is going to be us remote piloting the shuttle away. So all we see from an outside shot is these shimmering stars where we can just see the sky, and then pushing through, if we get this roll, well, I suppose we should do the roll first. Let's do the roll first. So we are going to have Con is a 2 because it's piloting. It's remote, so we could either do sensors or computers because it is remote. Because we're not piloting on it, we're remotely piloting it. So we've got, or we could pilot it, but I reckon computers, we've got an 8 for computers, and a Con of 2, giving us a 10. We do have an advanced sensor suite, which would mean that we could then communicate better because we can then push through the subspace static. So we've got an 8 and a 2, gives us a 10. We have a 7 and a 10. I can't remember if it's below or at. We're going to say at is fine, which is a success, which is, we won't call that a momentum because we're not too sure if that is true or not, but it is a success. So we have an external view within our scene 3, which is a success. We're burning through this part. It was all my chatter at the beginning. With the shifting, is everything working? Yes. With the shifting stars, where all of a sudden the ship comes through and pushes through a little shuttle, and then it goes off. We're remotely piloting it. Now the problem here is, if we burn the momentum, we're going to burn momentum, so we have no momentum left, to say that we are going to utilize the advanced sensor suite talent to make sure that we are a dedicated subspace transceiver array, so we push that out. So as we cut back to the ship, we can see that our transceiver array is deployed, So we're being able to communicate with the ship and pilot it off. And as that pilot's off, we will do, it leaves us, it begins to leave us, and we can see our, let's do a Game of Thrones and run at the end of the story really fast. We will then have, we're going to have to lose a shuttle though. We'll lose a shuttle. We're down one shuttle. Maybe we can pick one up off the Slipper, the USS Slipper. It's going to go off. We're still piloting it, and so McLeod is focusing on piloting that, and we've got what would be the co-pilot? Co-pilot. Whichever has the co-pilot. The co-pilot could be. So we still didn't have a large mix. We'll have a Russian. Let's have. No, that's not politically correct at the moment, is it? We won't one of them. We could have someone who's French. Poirot, Belgium. We'll have Poirot. Tintin. No, Tintin. It's a young lad. It's got spiky hair. It's named Tintin. We're not too sure if it's the real one or not. Do you know where Tintin's from? Tintin is from the south of Belgium, which I think is called Willonona. Wallona, maybe Wallona. Mainly French speaking, doesn't have as good internet, and you can't have pets in your accommodation. Whereas Flanders, which is northern Belgium, has got much better internet, and you can have pets. Anyway, by the by, you also get 9-year leases on rentals. That blows my mind. When in Sydney, every 6 months you risk being kicked out and your rent being pushed up. In Flanders, it's a 9-year lease. Rent stays the same, unless they can justify needing it to go up, and that can take court action. Anyway, Tintin is piloting the Rumta, as McLeod is focusing on piloting the shuttle and he's sending it out. So then we've cut to the external of the ship, sensors deployed, bridge. Tintin is really glowing because he's got it. We've got Captain Matane, Science Officer Relic is standing behind Flight Officer McLeod, who is piloting the shuttle, and we're getting a little screen, or the big screen is showing the shuttle going off, and then the Rumta becomes half exposed, and then like a stretch, then fully exposed, as the polar energy sort of high swarm moves off, and the shifting space as it's chasing down this food source. And that is where we are now going to do our next scene of our fourth scene of Act 3, Move the Flock On. We're going to attempt to move the flock on. We no longer have a momentum. We are down one shuttle. We've had the ship has done loads of rolls. We now are going to have, let's get subspace mechanics or scan operations. Captain Matane, River Matane, is going to go across to the sensor suite and say, let me just run some scans, and he is going to attempt to see, so we're going to roll reason and science, reason being an 11, science being a 4, and Matane is going to attempt to work out that the rest of the flock is also following it, and that will give them a chance to up the polar energy being emitted from, depending on what we roll, on the shuttle, and then get the rest of the flock, and then new prime will expose itself. And our final scene is going to be we beam down and talk to Captain Lawson of the Slipper if this works. And they're all going to be like, ooh, polar energy. So we need to roll under. We've got a reason of an 11 and a science of 4. That gives us a 15. I think that's how this works. We've got a success. We've got a 6, which will be under our reason. That makes sense. So we are going to have an advantage. So we get a story advantage, and we do have momentum because we do have a success. So we have momentum again, which means that we can keep the story going, which is good because we can go down and do some negotiations. And we rolled underneath. Okay, focuses. So we have succeeded. So Matane is going to go. There's more out there. There's definitely more. This is some kind of herd of these creatures. Lieutenant Relic, get as many scans out as we can. We need to capture as much data as we can about these things to send back to the Federation. I don't think we've encountered anything like this before. This is definitely new, and it might be able to have my name on it. We could call them metains. That would be fantastic. And so we are going to burn that as our story advantage, that Relic is going to, and we might be able to carry this over, that they're talking about these entities, the metain entity. It's going to try and join Starfleet. And so we have got that as our story advantage. And so that is scene 4, as we've succeeded in identifying the fact that there is a flock of these entities moving in space. They start to move off, and as they move off, we succeed in being able to view that there is, God, it's cold today in Sydney. We succeed in being able to view that there is the ship the planet New Prime is there, and is being exposed as it moves off. And then we are end of scene. We have discovered the planet New Prime, and we can do scans and see, we'll burn momentum to do that rather than rolling, that the USS Slipper is in orbit around New Prime. Everyone does a cheer, go, we've found New Prime. Next scene, we are appearing on planet. There's, have we got a medical officer yet? McLeod is we've taken a medical officer down with us. I don't think we've done a medical officer. We've got science officer Relic. We're going to have our medical officer, instead of Bones, we'll have a medical officer. I like this one. Hold on. Is Fee Ma. I don't know. Fema. That's Korean, China, Vietnamese. Fema. Yeah, Vietnamese. Is our Vietnamese medical officer Fema. Fema, isn't it? It's Bones. Isn't it? Bones. Fema. So we've got Fema, medical officer. We've got Captain Metain, and we have Science Officer Relic, beam down, and a couple of security officers, you know, nameless ones. And we are meet up with Captain Lawson of the Slipper, and we can then have the final exposition of, we could do a negotiation roll. Let's do a negotiation, because our captain has got negotiation. What would that be? That'd be insight, wouldn't it? Insight and command, which is a 13. Let's see if Metain embarrasses the ship by turning up and going, saved your ass. I think he does. We get a 12, which I think is not enough. So we have got insight is an 8, command is a 3, that's an 11. We were saying that's a fail, so we fail that. So basically, after all that success, we fail the final scene as Metain comes down, swaggers over. His pride, maybe because Lawson, he knows Captain Lawson. He knows Captain Lawson from the Academy. They both look around the same age. Lawson is from Earth, and of course Metain is Martian, and he's proud to be a colony Martian, and so he is a bit arrogant about saving the arse of a Earth-born Federation officer, and Relic is going to be like, oh, why did you have to say that? And he's going to say, right, we're off then. We're going to go and fix that subspace relay and do the job that we're supposed to be doing all the time. Because I just want to fix the relay. I don't want to be saving you people all the time. And then we'll go, end of that scene, return back to the USS Rumta, and Metain will turn to Sue, will call down to Engineering Officer Sue and say, right, get the crews ready. We're going to go fix that relay. And then we'll end episode with doing that, and we'll do our next mission next episode. I don't think that's that bad. It's mainly, it's purely just making up a story, which is cool with a few like frameworks around it. But I quite like that. I think we could get another couple of stories out of that. That's all right. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. Sorry about the wittering. Lots of has happened this week. Thank you very much. That is Captain's Log, the story of the USS Rumta. We will then do a new star date for our next mission. So that was Move the Flock On, Shifting Stars. Thank you so much for watching. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, do consider subscribing. It's fun. If you are a member of the Adventurers Guild, thank you so much for being a member of the Adventurers Guild. I probably posed, it's probably already been posed, a question about so at the moment, the early doors members of the Adventurers Guild get early access to the videos 3 weeks early. But I was thinking to do something that's easy for me to do, like not high time consuming effort for both tiers, and to try and for additional people, if you would like to join at the lower tier, which might be more financially viable, to get something good, cool. And I remember I used to listen to RPG MP3. If anyone from RPG MP3 is out there, hello, I used to listen to you all the time whilst I was coding. And this is just audio so I wouldn't cut a lot, it would be super low edit. I wouldn't cut a lot of the gaps out. I probably wouldn't cut any or all of my witterings that you don't sometimes get, because I think, oh, you don't watch that in the video. I'd leave those in, and it would just be audio, just MP3s, audio accessible for the members. What do you think? I'm floating that as an idea, because I think that should be something I can easily do and won't take up that much time. Of course, there will be no games that use minis. I will tell you what dice I roll, because you won't be able to see it, and that's it really. It will just be pure audio. I don't know how I would distribute it at this point, because I don't know how that works, putting pure audio. I might just have to have like a video feed running through it and just be audio. I don't know how that works, but it's an idea. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll stop there and make myself a coffee. Have fun. Bye.